My bully kissed me during our tutoring session. I need to pass my class, and the only way is if you tutor me, bookworm. Kayden's sneering tone echoed through my ears. I shook my head. No, I refuse to. You don't have a choice, nerd. If you don't, I'll make you pay, Kayden replied, his voice almost enjoying the treatment he brought to me. Tutoring Kayden was the last thing I wanted to do. When I signed up to help tutor other students, I thought it might be a freshman, but instead, it was Kayden, the senior who had been making my life a living hell for the last 2 years. Between giving me daily swirlies and wedgies, to accidentally opening my locker and destroying my homework, to even screwing the one chance I had with asking out a guy because he started a rumor that I didn't bathe, Kayden took pleasure in watching me suffer. Now he wanted me to tutor him? Was this some kind of joke? What if I don't want to? I asked. Kayden looked around to make sure nobody was there. Then he opened his phone and showed some emails. If you don't, I'm gonna start the rumor that you cheat on all your exams. None of those are legitimate. Doesn't matter. These teachers don't care. The second word gets out that you plagiarized your last few essays and cheated on your exams, you'll be finished. Not only are you a weirdo, but you're a cheater too. I looked past him towards the doorway. Behind him were a couple of his other cronies who stayed to the side unless called upon. I was trapped, forced to tutor my bully with no choice. So, if I don't do this, it'll ruin your streak of being that goody-goody you claim to be. That'll kick you off the dean's list, I grimaced. I took pride in my academic prowess and maintaining a professional image. This sort of thing would get me detention, especially since we still had a few hours till the end of classes. Not to mention, the tutoring was to graduate and looked good on my resume. I had to do this, even if I didn't want to. There was no way out. Sighing, I nodded, giving in. Fine, I'll do it. Good. Glad you can see things my way, Ash. He smirked, then closed the door. All the tension I held left my body, but I still regretted this. Why did Kayden torment me? Because I was weird? Because he found some sick joy in it? Either way, I hated this. When I walked out, Kayden stepped away from the side wall. Meet me at the library after class. If you're not there, my guys will find you. Later that day, after class. Here goes nothing. I trudged into the library to the back, where the study rooms were. They were places where one could be louder so as not to disturb other people reading. Of course, Kayden wanted to meet here. Sighing, I opened the door. Good to see you. Your posse isn't around? Oh, those guys? I don't need them. They're actually waiting by the classrooms in case you didn't show up. Makes sense. Well, I'm here now. Have a seat. I don't want to listen to your nerdy lectures any longer than I have to. And I don't want to be here any longer either. I sat down and began to help Kayden with the first set of math problems. He was in geometry, which was sophomore math, despite being a senior. And this is how you calculate a circle. No, it's not. Why would I do that? There's a circle right here already. He pointed to the circle and I bit back an insult. Because this is how you find the volume of— Why would I need this when I can just pay a nerd like you to do it? Because I might not be around all the time. You wanted this. No, I wanted you to tutor me, not lecture me like one of those old fogies, I swear. Sometimes I wonder if I should ever left that hellhole. Hellhole? What's he talking about? I sighed, gathering myself. Work with me, Kayden, please, for both of our sakes. He turned to me, a mischievous grin crossing his face. And what if I don't? Then there's no reason for me to be here. Yes, there is. You're supposed to be doing my homework. I sat there in shock. Just what was Kayden's problem? That is not what we agreed to. You wanted me to tutor you. When I tutor, I help students understand the problems, not do it for them. Of course you don't, because you're a lame nerd who will never get a girlfriend. Okay, these insults were bothering me. I faced him, gathering the courage I could. Kayden, leave me alone. I don't need to take any more of this. Yes, you do. No, I can leave right now. Spread the rumors. I don't care, I muttered. God, why do you always act like you're better than me? I don't. Why do you always torment me? Do you get off on it? Do you hate me? I asked these questions because the longer we continued, the harder it might be to hold back. He towered over me, and soon our bodies were next to each other, overbearing and strong. I looked around frantically. I don't like the way this feels. Kayden raised his hand and I braced myself. A wedgie, a Charlie horse, or maybe he'd just give me a punch that would knock the wind out of me. Instead, he grabbed me by the shirt and looked in my eyes. What happened next caught me by surprise. Kayden kissed me. It was so fast I barely registered, but his plush, pink lips met mine with a kiss full of a variety of emotions. Anger, frustration, and maybe vulnerability. As quickly as it happened, he pulled away. Neither of us said a word. I was too in shock to formulate a coherent sentence. Kayden, what was— None of your damn business. He grabbed his stuff and left the room, slamming the door. I sat there and touched my lips, utterly confused by his behavior. I never liked Kayden like that. I mean, Kayden was attractive and would be hotter if he didn't find pleasure in making my life a living hell, but it made no sense because I thought he hated me. I brushed it off and gathered my stuff. At least I don't have to tutor him now. Questions swarmed my head and I wondered just why Kayden did that. Was it a sense of pride? Did he want to have control over me? Or was there something else going on? 3 days later. Another day, another incident with Kayden. This time, he accidentally got gum on my diorama for science class. I spent almost all of lunch peeling off the pieces, but there were still dregs. I sat back and slumped my shoulders. He was the same as always, even after the strange kiss. Let's just hope Mrs. Franklin doesn't look too close at it. She might. She's got that eagle eye, Roy, my friend, pointed out. He looked over at Kayden, who was talking with Nate and Brian, his two cronies. What's his problem? What do you mean? He's been targeting you like every day. Did you get on his bad list or something? I shrugged. Not sure. Didn't you tutor him the other day? I take it things went south? They were not as good as I hoped. Oh, lovely, Roy muttered. Listen, just be careful, Ash. Kayden's a loose cannon, and I don't want you getting hurt. Believe me, I noticed. Kayden was a loose cannon, but his harassment had an ulterior motive to it. I didn't like what he was doing, but every time we had an altercation, I caught myself staring at him, admiring his muscular body and his eyes. He had the deepest blue eyes. I hated it because I'd catch myself staring for longer than I cared to admit. I didn't like him. I refused to like him, especially with the way he treated me. A week later. The universe hates me. I looked at the pairings for the next group project. Guess who has to work with Kayden? Me. I tried to ask Miss Gaveston for another partner, but she said there was nobody else, so I was screwed. It was an English project where we were supposed to read and develop a small character analysis based on conversation. With Kayden, talking seemed impossible. I refused to believe we'd work together. I walked over to Kayden, who glared as I approached. Hey, so we're partners for this project. I saw a bookworm. Well, when do you want to work on it? I expected him to say I'd have to do it alone, but then he cocked his head. Tomorrow afternoon. My schedule, and if you don't show up— I know. Same as before. Good, Kayden replied with a snarl. You're understanding your place. His crass, domineering voice frustrated me. And yet, I found myself kind of enjoying this. Why? I might be going insane. We parted ways, agreeing to meet tomorrow afternoon, even though I didn't want to. The next afternoon. It was the same place as before. I sat down and things went the same way they did the last time. I think that we should highlight this character's dedication to her goal. Despite her behaviors upsetting others, she just likes to sleep around, uses her body to get what she wants. There's no ulterior motives. I blinked. That's not what I read. Yeah, well, that's what I read. We're working together, nerd, so how about you listen to me? My hands balled into fists. He was doing it again. And let me guess, because if I don't, you'll kiss me again? Kayden grabbed my shirt, pulling me up like last time. Do not bring that up. Why? Because you're reminded that you kissed me? The guy you hate? I fired back. He dropped me, my feet landing with a thud. Kayden walked over, backing me into the wall with each step. I don't like you, Ash. You're a nerd and more fun to harass, and yet you kissed me. He loomed over, hand clutching my shirt sleeve like a vice. If you tell anyone about that, I'm going to make you regret it. His breath mingled with mine, and for a second, I forgot about how angry he sounded. Am I going to regret it? Or maybe you secretly want to kiss me again. Kayden's bravado disappeared. He stood there, gripping me tightly. A moment later, he let go. It's none of your damn business. Don't bring it up. I won't, okay? But I want answers. What's your game for harassing me? Is it power, control, or do you do it because you like me? He glared, but didn't say anything. I don't need to tell you, nerd. If you tell anyone about what happened, I'll tie you to the flagpole in the middle of a snowstorm. The bully's threats normally got to me, but I could see that despite trying to bite back his feelings, they came out. I know, Kayden. Can we at least try to work together, though? He glowered, but then nodded. I can try. We worked together, getting a draft of the project done. Kayden stole glances towards me, and sometimes, when our eyes met, I admired the cerulean color. No, there were no feelings there. He hated me, and I doubt that slight moment of weakness changed anything. For the rest of the night, we worked together, the tension thick. Still, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride getting under his skin. A week later, let's work on the project together. And if you're willing to help with my math homework, that'd be nice. I could not believe what I was hearing. A week after I called out Kayden for his feelings, he was now asking me to tutor him? This had to be some kind of joke. Folding my arms together, I nodded. You sure about this, right? Yes, I need your help. Even though we got off on the wrong foot the last couple of times, I want to try again. The draft we did for the English project made sense, I guess. I chuckled. I sure hope so. I took the excerpts from the book. Show off. I'm not showing off, I replied. But if you want to, I can later on today. Fine. Just don't tell them about it. He looked over at Nate and the other cronies. Oh, so he wanted to meet in private. Part of me wondered if it was because of what transpired with the kiss and me calling him out, almost sharing a kiss once again. I won't. Kayden walked off, but not before looking at me and giving me a small nod. After school, we met at the library once again, but this time it was one of the very back rooms. To my surprise, Kayden listened to me when I showed him how to apply the area formula to a rhombus. Wow, that does make sense. It does. If you put in a little effort, all these problems make sense. Probably to a nerd like you. You could be a nerd too, if you wanted to be. Kayden paused, but then looked away. No, I got another chance, but I don't want to go down that path. I just want to graduate, get out of here, and follow the dream I have. Which is? I figured, asking him about it. Can't tell you. We'll ruin the surprise. Fair. I didn't think it was only that, but I didn't want to pry. Kayden and I worked together, and I started to learn that Kayden was a little more open with me, provided I didn't tease him too much. The guy could dish it, but not take it. A fault of his, but it was as if he was fighting for another reason. At the end of the session, he turned to me. His hand rested on top of mine, and I looked down, then at him. Kayden, what are you— I need to get something off my chest, Ash. I haven't been fair to you recently. More like at all, I corrected. What I'm trying to say is, after I kissed you that day, I realized I had these feelings for you. I like you, Ash. You don't have to feel the same, but I want to tell you to have some peace of mind. His words shocked me. Kayden liked me? I mean, it kind of made sense. I don't know what to say or how to feel. Sure, Kayden was attractive, but I still didn't know if this was some kind of ploy to get me to forgive him for his actions or what. You've hurt me a lot in the past, Kayden. I don't know if I like you. You've been a real ass lately. Yeah, and I'm sorry. There's just something about seeing you get flustered like that. Oh, so it's for your own personal reasons, I retort. That and you kinda look hot when you're angry. That caught me by surprise. I flushed but then looked away. Still, I don't know if I like you. Kayden clutched my hand tighter. We can take it slow. I don't want to rush into this either. It seemed reasonable, but I had some questions. Why are you so obsessive with me then? Sometimes you go out of your way to harass me, and you've been so cryptic about having to do this. I have my reasons. It's complicated. I do feel better, though, getting this out in the open. He closed the gap, sharing another kiss. It was hesitant, but we kissed for a bit longer. I didn't know if I liked my bully, but for now, I had to accept that this was the way things were. A week later, we got the project done. I trusted Kayden with the second half, and he did well. He knew this, but refused to apply himself. We still had arguments, a lot, and he pushed me away constantly. Yet, I could tell he was trying his best, doing everything he could to figure out his feelings for me. The same went for me. Could I have a relationship with the guy who tormented me? Kayden also agreed to more tutoring. We did it off campus at a coffee shop in town that nobody would go to. We went over geometry concepts, including similar triangles. So through this, you can prove they are similar triangles. Oh, that makes sense. You're a good tutor, Ash. Are you going to school to teach after high school? Possibly. What about you? I asked. Kayden tensed up. I don't know. I have my reasons to go to school, to pass these classes. Isn't this just a course credit? To graduate, yeah, but I need to graduate this year. I wanted to ask why that was, but Kayden looked visibly uncomfortable. Sorry if I overstepped my boundaries. You didn't. I just have my reasons to pass this class and graduate. More motivation than before. I nodded. Well, if you ever need to talk about it, you can. We've gotten close over this semester, and I feel like I've gotten to know you better. Kayden shrugged. You don't know the full story, but I guess so. Anyway, I'd better go. Thanks for your help, Ash. Kayden stood up and grabbed his bag. As he was about to leave, I grabbed his hand and held it. Kayden froze, but I kept a tight grip. I know you have your secrets, but I'm willing to help however I can. Appreciate it. I better get home. My aunt's waiting. Kayden extricated his hand from my grip and left. As the door closed, I sighed, confused. Kayden lived with his aunt, but I knew little else about him. He had secrets, and whenever I thought we'd get close, he never elaborated. I wanted to get to know him. He meant something to me, which came as a shock. A week later, he pushed me away again. I asked Kayden about what happened, but he said it was nothing. It pissed me off. Kayden, just tell me what is going on, I asked after class. I rested my hand on his shoulder, but he pushed it away. No, I'm fine. He walked off with his cronies, and I sighed, rubbing my temples. I swear, this was beginning to piss me off. I tried to let it go, focused on myself, but as time passed, I continued to think about Kayden. Maybe I'm obsessing over him the same way he obsessed over me. There was an honor roll to worry about. I focused on that, getting good grades. But I also knew that the tutoring sessions were part of my resume, which, of course, involved Kayden. 3 days later, I met with Roy in the cafeteria and told him my problems, to which he suggested something strange. Maybe go check the records office? The guy's an enigma, and I've asked the secretary about it. She says it's classified, though. The records office? Well, how am I supposed to get in there? It's classified. Roy smiles. Come with me. I'll take you in there. I hesitated. Part of me felt bad about breaching his trust. I didn't want Kayden mad at me, and yet I had to know. I was tired of him not letting me in. I nodded. Okay. Roy and I went to the records office with his key, because he was an assistant to the principal. There I perused the shelves, eventually finding Kayden's folder. What I discovered shocked me. The next day. Kayden, what happened to your parents, and what happened to you? Anger flashed across Kayden's face, a fury I never saw before. What? I saw in your records file that you weren't in school for 6 months, and Kayden grabbed me and pulled me out of my seat, holding me above his head. The anger flashed before his eyes. Why did you go through my stuff? It was an accident, and Don't ask, and mind your damn business. He stormed off before I said anything more. He didn't trust me. Why? 3 days later. Kayden avoided me. In fact, he became angry every time we locked eyes. I refused to let that stop me. Whenever I confronted him, he left. It grew frustrating. Finally, I headed to the library where I saw him sitting. I closed and locked the door. "What do you want?" I stiffened, feeling on edge. No, we need to do this. In order to get closer. Kayden, I don't want secrets. If you really want a relationship with me, we have to learn to be honest with each other. Kayden paused. His eyes met mine, wide with shock. You want a relationship? Is that why you're being so nosy? Did I? Deep down, I kind of did. I wanted to take it slow, but I didn't want secrets. Yes. And I know what I did was wrong. And I'm sorry, but It's personal. Sure. But don't you feel something for me? Anything at all? He turned away. Wouldn't you like to know? I sighed, rubbing my temples. This guy is a brick wall. I do, I replied, using the one tactic I had on hand. I reached out and grabbed his hand. I'm not scared. Rationally, I should be. But if Kayden and I want to work things out, we have to learn to accept one another, even if it is our demons. I waited for Kayden as he ruminated over his thoughts. He then gestured to the seat nearby, in the corner of the library. Come here. I'll tell you. We sat down together, and then Kayden opened his mouth. What he told me came as a shock. About 2 years ago, I came home from school. I found my parents had, a suicide? Kayden nodded. Their note said that they loved my brother Drew and me, but they weren't fit to be our parents. I was devastated. It wasn't your fault, I replied. I know it wasn't, but tell that to someone who just found their parents dead. After I started to act out, vandalizing properties. I see. Yeah, it was wrong, and I know that now, but whenever I graffitied various places, I felt in control. I never controlled my parents' decisions, which is what killed me. Finally, I got arrested, sent to juvie for a year. Because I was so young, they let me go, but I had to get my diploma. The problem was I was never good with school and struggled with expulsion. I still am. It made so much sense. Why Kayden seemed like a loose cannon, almost obsessive over me. How he struggled to show emotions. I am so sorry, Kayden. I didn't know. Nobody does. I got the principal to keep it as a blank record. I don't want people knowing. But I'm allowed to know, because I like you, Ash. A lot. I have for a while. You mean something to me. All I have is my aunt and brother who I take care of as well as I can, but with you, I feel like we have something more. A real connection. I felt it too. As I grabbed Kayden's hands, I held them. Your secret's safe with me, Kayden. We'll get through this. Together. Thank you, Ash. You understand me. I can't be out of the closet because of my reputation. If they find out that the big, strong bully is a queer, that's a problem. But knowing that I have you to rely on and talk to, it brings me relief. I smiled. Me too. And we don't have to be out. The last thing I need is more torment. We leaned in and shared another kiss. I was happy Kayden trusted me, and I realized that my bully's dark secret ate him alive and made his life a living hell. If I could help him with that pain, then I would. I'd do whatever it took to make him happy. We continued the tutoring sessions but got to know each other better. Kayden helped me because I'd be able to graduate, and as a plus, we also grew closer. 5 days later, Kayden and I went bowling together as our first date that wasn't a study date. It was fun, and I got some strikes. Our tutoring turned into study dates, and I found myself spending more time with Kayden. It was less to graduate and more because I liked being around him. He felt the same. After Kayden and I went to the arcade where he won me a bear, he gave it to me, and I grinned. Thank you. You're welcome. Seeing you smile, it makes me smile, Ash. Me too, I admitted. Kayden smiled, a rarity but something that I had come to enjoy and hold on to whenever I could. We leaned in and shared a kiss away from the streetlights. Things got cut short, however, when I heard a voice behind us. Wait, Kayden? I looked over, seeing Nate and his cronies there. Kayden frowned. What are you doing here? We just got back from the arcade. Wait, are you and Ash? Kayden pulled away. No, it's not what you think. Damn, I didn't know that you were gay, Kayden. Wait, stop! The others walked away. Kayden stepped back, shock and horror on his face. Kayden, it'll be okay. Just leave me alone, Ash. Kayden stormed off. I thought it wouldn't lead to anything, but this interaction was the beginning of the rumors that spread, and how Kayden distanced himself. A week later, rumors about Kayden spread like wildfire. People learned he was out of the closet, which led to harassment. I tried to help, but there was nothing I could do. I tried to reason with Kayden, but he said it was all my fault. That guy was the one who came to me, so I didn't understand why he blamed me. I got some teasing, but it was mostly Kayden, because he was known as this hardened bully. I felt bad. I was supposed to meet with Kayden that afternoon for tutoring, but he was gone. I tried to call him, but there was nothing. He pushed me away, because he was worried about his reputation. A week later, Kayden hadn't come to school. Worry washed over me. It had been a week. I met with Roy, and he got Kayden's file. I got the address and went over there. When I got to the door, I knocked. Kayden opened the door, his eyes wide with shock. What are you doing here, Ash? I came to see you, to make sure you're okay? Kayden shook his head. I'm not. I don't want to see you, Ash. I have to find my brother. On top of everything that's happened now, I have this to worry about, so leave me alone. He closed the door, but I stepped forward, preventing him from closing it. Kayden, please, I don't want you to push me away. Why? Because I like you. I don't care what the rumors say. I want to help you as much as I can, so stop pushing me away and just let me be with you. Kayden's eyes widened. He stood there, taking all of this in. Finally, he nodded. Okay, let's go. Hours later, Kayden and I went all over town until we got to the bridge over the lake. There, when we got closer, was his brother, dangling off the edge of one of the pillars. He climbed down to the platform, but was unable to get back up. Kayden raced over and extended his hand. I can't reach him. I sprang forward and joined Kayden. The little boy, who looked the opposite of Kayden, clasped my hand. Crying, he rushed towards Kayden and embraced him once we got to solid ground. It's all right, little bro. You're safe now. His brother Drew sniffled. We're okay, right, big bro? Yeah, we're okay. Ash here helped. The little boy turned to me and smiled. Thank you, Ash. No problem. Now let's get you home safe, okay? We walked home in a pleasant silence. We had a lot to talk about, but I knew it was for the best. 2 hours later, Kayden and I got home. His aunt thanked me, and she took Drew off our hands. Kayden and I went to his room. We sat on his bed, our hands and bodies brushed against each other. Kayden turned to me and closed his eyes. I'm sorry, Ash, for abandoning you and pushing you away. I forgive you, Kayden. This is a lot for both of us. It is. I've never felt like anyone cared about me. Not until you came along. I smiled. I do care, Kayden. A lot. And I have for a bit. He chuckled, leaning in slightly. I want to continue this, if that's okay. You're sure, right? Despite the rumors. Yeah. I was a fool for pushing you away, but now I'm ready to accept my feelings. The words felt so genuine and so real. Kayden meant everything. Me too. We kissed. And that night, I slept with Kayden. We agreed to more tutoring sessions and time with each other. I originally did this to graduate, but now it was something more. We both realized what we had was real. We liked each other. My bully opened up to me and showed me a side of him I never expected to see. And now, because of it, I feel we understand each other even more than before. Conclusion. Kayden and I both graduated, and he went to college getting the job of his dreams, which was being a dentist. As for me, I went to school for teaching. The tutoring sessions paid off, and I had more than enough credits. We helped Drew get on the right path, and we both got our lives together. After we graduated and started our career paths, Kayden took me on vacation. There, on the bright, sandy beach, he popped the question. And of course, I said yes, and we shared a kiss. The end. Have you ever fallen for your bully? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become a part of our rainbow force, and stay wholesome.